not forget them. And so next, I would like to have Ms. Deborah come up. She's going to talk a little bit about some of the local homes registered as part of the Underground Railroad and the significance of the large front porches. Ms. Deborah, it's going to be very cool.
Hi, my name is Deborah Johnson. I grew up in this amazing neighborhood of Ithaca, New York, on the south side at 532 West Clinton Street. We had a gas station next door, and I took a picture. The gas was $1.24 at the time. You'll never see that again. But this neighborhood, it was just really, really amazing to us. And the friends, they were family. I mean, all the, like she said, if you messed up in the neighborhood, you got in trouble with in front of the person's house that you messed up with, and they called your parents. By the time you got home, that was another circuit that you had to deal with. But through the Southside Community Center and this church, this was central to us. We went from school, elementary schools, straight to the South Side. We went from schools straight to Hagen Zion Church. We had jewelry making at the South Side. We had a connection with Cornell because students used to come down and they would work with us. They would teach us jewelry making. They would teach us several different things. We talked about the dances going on. We had amazing mentors in the neighborhood. Your father was amazing. He was just amazing. There's two other people we didn't mention, and that's Millie and Rain. They were central to us. They really, really watched out for us, and they made sure we didn't get in trouble. If we got in trouble and they were around, they would straighten you out and say you play. They didn't play, but I was reading in some of the history of Ithaca, and what Michelle was talking about, something that struck me, and I never, you know, it saddens me that we did not know we lived in the midst of so much history. We were never, ever told these stories. We didn't know about Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman is part of my family, but I don't know to what extent. I have a cousin that knows history like crazy. His name is Leo. He lives in South Carolina now, and he'll tell you everything about it. But it saddens me that we didn't know that we had so much rich history right in the places that we lived. And I sent out an email about the properties, the Hager's house on Green Street, the Jenkins house on Green Street, all the houses on Cleveland Avenue, and I never realized this until I read that article. They have large porches. There's a significance of those porches. They used those as, they were barbers. And they brought the slaves on, and this was a main transfer point for the slaves headed to Canada. But the porches served not only to cut their hair, but to change their appearance. So they didn't, and I, for lack of a better term, look like slaves, you know, when they left here. They provided clothing, they provided food for them, some of them provided housing for them. So if you look up and down these streets, most of these houses have large porches. And I never even thought about it until I read this article. And I was like, oh, that's something different that we never even heard about. So we just had such a great growing up in this neighborhood. All watched out for each other. I was a member of the basketball teams you were going to. We used to get killed by all because we were all little. You know, we had practice at the South Side, and we traveled to Albany, we traveled to Syracuse, we traveled to Elmira, we traveled to Rochester. One brother. We were walking through the streets as, is it Biggie? No, what's his name? Slater. Thank you. We were walking through the streets of Rochester, going to a basketball game. We had to find a place to eat. So the group of us, because they said don't go out alone, so we all walked together. And this crowd was coming at us, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get in trouble. We shouldn't be out here by ourselves. Who showed up in the front of the crowd? Slater. And Slater grew up in it. I don't know if he grew up in it because he was always here. 6'5", you didn't mess with him. So we were safe when we saw it. I mean, there were people throwing windows at us because we were from there. But the trips really, it got us to know the areas around Ithaca. And that was all started from the south side. You know, the area in the gym, I don't know if you remember, used to be open. It was an open balcony, so that you could look down on the basketball games, the parties they used to have at the south side, the celebrations. As kids, when we couldn't go to the parties, we stayed at the side door. We were so, like, we wanted to get in there. We thought there was so much going on, and then by the time you got into the party, it was like, this is it. This is all we had to go through. But it was just a really, really great central part. This silly article that we heard that a kid was blowing a cross on his head so the world was ending. We left Henry St. John's and came straight to the church. Praying on the church steps, and they laugh at me when I remind them of that, but that was central. That's something I remember about growing up here. But I'm telling you, but we couldn't get into church, so we sat on the steps. We prayed on the steps, we'd still be blessed. The world didn't end, so we were all right. But these places were just so really, really important to us. But take a look down the block and know that those porches aren't just there as porches for people to socialize on. They had a purpose at that time. And I thought that was something that really stood out to me in reading these articles. So, thank you very much. I know I said I didn't have much to say.
But that's what happens when you grow up around greatness. And look at all of us. You know, we got to pass this on because it doesn't need to be another 20 years before we get together, or the people that grow up in this neighborhood know what they're growing up around. Our paragraph in history in high school was one paragraph. And I said, that's all we did. They said, oh, you're being disrupted, be quiet. Right. Yeah. They didn't want us to know. That's right.
Thank you.